Good morning. Welcome to Berkeley Editions. This is our new studio in Woolloomooloo, Sydney, Australia, and we're so pleased that you could join us today. I'm Robin Berkeley. We're very happy to welcome Teresa Sargent to our studio this morning. Teresa owns a company called Fine Art Imaging in Balmain, Sydney, and she's so highly regarded in her field. And today we're going to be talking about Giclée printing. How long have you been here in Sydney?
Oh, I've been in Australia since 2001, but I trained in the United States by Gary Kerr of Fine Art Impressions, and basically my studio is an exact replica of his.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so everything in my studio is, as I say, a replica of his studio, and he still mentors me and keeps me up to date with the latest developments in fine art printing in the United States. So a wonderful mentor and guru.
Pretty flash equipment you have.
Yeah, I like it. I'm happy with it.
Well, you're recognised as a master in your field here.
Well, thank you, Robin.
You're most welcome. You are.
Thank you.
What you produce is beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I feel it's also based on the equipment that I'm using. I feel the most important part of the process is getting a high-end digital scan of the original artwork. It's all colour managed. So I use a digital scanning back in a large format camera. And it's a 260 megapixel scanning back. So all the detail is captured. Also the lighting is important, to capture any impasto that might be on the painting.
That's very impressive. That's very impressive.
Yeah, so we have a Sophie Grolton here. I'm very privileged to be able to produce her work. She trained with, I think was it Charles Sheard? But yeah, it's all nostalgic, her work, but it is pertaining to children and sort of, I guess, a life.
People's memories.
Yes, exactly, people's memories.
That's why often you can't see the face, because it could be you as a child, or one of your children as a child, but they grow up. So,
and she uses in her artwork, she uses book plates and old patterns, simplicity patterns, and then sometimes even garments, items of clothing, that are of a bygone era. So yes, as you say, it elicits nostalgia.
And she's fabulous.
She is fabulous. We all love Sophie.
Yes, we all love
She's very
Sophie.
Colourful,
yes.
and I love her humour on top of everything
she's fabulous.
else.
And so she's also very particular.
Absolutely.
And outspoken. And that's why, because of the detail that Teresa goes to, and they're both nice people, that's why
which is so important.
Prefers for Teresa to do all of the printing of all of her work. And her work looks fabulous.
It does, yeah, it's beautiful. And she's got her children were her muses for a long time. But now they're growing up, and she's got a whole array of new subjects. So we'll be, I guess, getting some new works from her. The detail that's captured in these scans is incredible. And then it's all colour managed, as I said. I use a photospectrometer to take readings off of the painting, which then goes into a very sophisticated piece of software, and out the other end comes, we hope, a perfect scan. It is tweaked in collaboration with the artist to on screen to make sure that it is what the artist is looking for or is wanting.
If the artist wasn't happy with it, they wouldn't sign it.
Exactly. So, I mean, obviously we have an AP to have a look at, and once the artist is happy, then we go forward with the numbered edition. I mean, the wonderful thing about Giclée printmaking is it's very different from traditional printmaking in that you print to order, so you don't have to have hundreds of prints sitting in drawers, tying up capital.
Well, it's the way things are going now.
Absolutely.
Because it's all to do with the costing.
Absolutely.
Because the times that we've been publishing handmade lithographs and etchings and things.
Yes.
It's a good reproduction signed by the artist.
Yes, and numbered.
Is valuable also.
Yes, and they're all printed on 100% cotton rag papers. They're printed on a 12-colour pigmenting printer and independently tested. They have a lifespan of 100 years.
Is that the ink?
The print, yeah. As long as they're kept as you would an original under UV glass and not in the sun, they do have a lifespan. It's also the digital capture of this is also good for archival purposes, because obviously if something does happen to the original, you have the digital image as a record.
Well, Melissa Egan's a wonderful artist, and she's been hung in the Archibald. And with this series of works, there were about 4 we did.
Yes, that's right, we did.
She decided to she invited the Brisbane City Orchestra to her house for lunch one day when she was in Brisbane, just out of Brisbane, and she decided to do paintings of the different characters on animals with the different instruments.
Oh, how wonderful!
She would know their history, their names. She knows everything about them. So
these are the
people in the orchestra.
In the orchestra. What a fabulous story!
Yes.
You know, I've done the Blackman. You know, the Blackman of the boat.
Oh yes. You know, we have never shown that.
Oh.
This could be a first time.
Yes, and that's done on a textured paper, which is also good to talk about.
Okay.
It's an Archer's aquarelle textured paper, which is beautiful. It's got a lovely quality to it.
Use Archer's paper?
I use Archer's aquarelle.
Archer's aquarelle?
Yes, which is a textured paper.
Okay.
All the papers are 100% cotton rag.
That's museum quality. It's museum.
For fine art printing, it is as good as it gets. Hannah Mueller is one of the finest papers in the world. This is a Blackman. So that was photographed by Fine Art Imaging, and it was printed on a textured paper, which has a lovely feel. The lighting it is important, yes. Obviously you've got to get it as even as possible. But there are ways to mitigate that. I mean, as I say, I use a very high-end piece of software, so that there is it's a 4-stage process. Basically, you're taking readings off the painting to get the colour right, and then I do a whiteboard, so if there is any disparity in the lighting, it can be fixed in post-production. But also you try to light it so it illuminates as much texture in the painting as possible. Paintings are photographed upside down and lit from the bottom as well as the sides, so that it emulates sunlight. So the shadows are on the bottom of the, any texture that there might be. Which these papers have a very wide colour gamut, so you pretty much can replicate the original.
Oh, okay. Because that's been so beautifully done. So this is the first. Well, this is the first that this has been shown. They were put away for years and years, and we haven't brought it out until now.
I'm glad you brought it out. It is beautiful. You own the original, don't you, Robin? Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's a watercolour. The original.
Yes, and that's what's so beautiful about this paper, is that it emulates a watercolour beautifully. It's textured. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the original and the print. So some commentators feel that Giclée prints are of a lesser value because they're created by a machine. But in the United States, some Giclées, for instance, Annie Leibovitz, I think one of her prints went for $10,000, Chuck Close for a similar value, and a Wolfgang Tillmass went for over $20,000. So they do have value.
A lot of artists didn't want to do Giclée in the beginning.
Yeah,
I think about 8 years ago.
You're right, they didn't.
They were a bit above it. Well, so was I. But
I think because it's a machine. It's a machine doing the printing. As I said, in this era, with everything being digital and everything being instant, these can be printed to order. So, you know, you don't have prints
everywhere.
Yes.
Which is very expensive to just produce a whole edition.
Yes.
Of, you know, say whatever, that one's 20, this one down here. You could just have 1 or 2 or 3 instead of 20, which mightn't sell. So it's a much more practical way to go about things. Although handmade things will still continue to be done.
Yes, absolutely.
Not
but
as
the beauty of this type of printing is that it's done on a 12-colour printer, so it's almost like an original. You know, it's I think the next best thing. And then, in fact, some artists are now working on top of them as well. So it's like a hand-finished print, which is also extends the value of it.
Everything, whether they're handmade or not, they call them editions instead of prints.
Yes, I mean the word giclée seems to have a bad connotation, but really all it means is how the ink comes out of the machine.
Yeah, and the result, the skill, is in the operator and the machinery, but mostly the operator. And the results are best if the original is photographed by Teresa, because her photography is so spot on. She knows what she needs.
But also it's a collaboration between myself and the artist. So obviously if the artist is not happy, you know, they see the image and we work together on a color calibrated ASO screen, which is state of the art. So what you see on the screen is what you are getting the other end. It's all calibrated. The papers are calibrated, screens are calibrated. So it is a technical process, but yeah, and as I say, we work closely with the artists to get their vision. Giclée prints are regarded worldwide. I mean, they have them in New York Metropolitan Museum, Chelsea galleries, and yes, so
they have them in the Art Gallery of New South Wales, isn't it?
As Robin mentioned, we do provide certificates of authenticity, which are signed by myself, the printmaker, and the artist.
Because
validates
otherwise
it.
it just could be, you know.
Yeah, but it's also important that the print is signed by the artist and numbered, so they're putting their hand to it, and that's what gives it value. Most reproductions in the United States now are done by the Giclée method, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes, it's huge.
So it's certainly changed the face of printmaking.
But they've been doing it for many years.
They have. I mean, it's been going, I think it was in the 1990s that they first started it. But I think they started it so that they could use the image for separation for other forms of printmaking.
Oh, okay.
But then it became an art form in itself, you know. So, and it's sort of reached a level now that won't be surpassed for some time, I think. Probably the next step is 3D printing.
Yes.
But we're some ways off from that for now.
Yes.
But they have a beautiful feel, you know,
because
the papers are 100% cotton. They have a very natural feel. So
the papers that national galleries and state libraries and institutions prefer their images to be on.
I use the German cotton rag, Hannah Müller.
There are different weights in Hannah Müller, aren't
there? There are. Generally, I use a 309 GSM.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. Depends on each one, you know. That's an Archer's Aquarelle, but this is a Hannah Müller.
Thank you, Teresa, for joining us today, darling.
It's been my pleasure,
You look
Robin.
beautiful.
Always,
It's
always a pleasure.
Lovely to see you. And fun.
Thanks, you.
Darling. Every art piece from Berkeley Editions comes with a certificate of authenticity, and we know that we'll be able to supply you with something to make your walls very happy. And we'd love you to follow us and be with us on Facebook and Instagram.